Hi, and welcome to Wait, What BS Is This? I know last week I promised to make a video or two or three about the Mueller Report. And after consideration and reading the Mueller Report, I'm not going to talk about it because it's been talked about to death. What I am going to talk about, though, is something I kind of brought up in my first video and kind of touch on in my other videos, and that is we need to stop focusing on the past when it comes to potential criminality for people who we have elected in here. Air quotes, elected. And the reason for this is simple. When it comes to that, we take people at their word, and democracy is a popularity contest. I understand this. We live with it. But we've gotten to the point now where it's really kind of proven that, especially here in the Western United States, that fundamentally we believe things differently out here. I'm talking about California, and to a lesser extent, Washington, Oregon, Nevada, and Arizona and New Mexico are kind of leaning our way. And Colorado has been closer to California than any of the other previous states mentioned for a while now. Yes, they still elect conservative congressmen. And yes, they still elect conservative senators. But the reality is simple. Fundamentally, ideologically, all that, we're different here. And we really need to consider remedies other than worrying about what someone back east has done. And I'm not suggesting forming our own nation, because that's what my opinion really should be, or really is. Not really should be, it really is. Forming our own nation should be an option on the table. Yes, it would be painful. Yes, we would have to deal with a lot of stuff. But the reality is that we'd have a lot of leverage with other nations because a good percentage of the nation's economy comes from us. A lot of our trading comes from the Western United States. And when it comes to that, we need to think about where we are ideologically compared to the rest of the country. And realistically, the only states in the nation that really come close to us ideologically are the northeastern states. And even those are leaning kind of red. But the problem we have is that when it comes to what we believe about climate change, about how we treat immigrants and homeless people and all that, it all comes down to, can we live with what someone else says we should do about whatever it is we believe in that's completely antithetical to what they're saying. And we've gotten to a point where, yes, the U.S. is a great nation, or was. It isn't any longer. And we see it's shown. We aren't great anymore. We're super discriminatory. We're super anti-women. We're super everything. And the things that this administration and this Congress have shown us that a lot of these divides are unbridgeable. I mean, look at what the Trump administration did in the UN last week. They have scuttled potentially a UN resolution because it talks about abortion. a UN resolution on rape because it talks about abortion. That's unacceptable. Okay, whether you support abortion or not, if you don't support abortion, don't have abortions. And you're a man, if you didn't make the baby, you don't have a right to, you don't have any say. Just that simple. And this is coming from someone who's against abortion on intelligence grounds. Okay, if you're not smart enough or you're not educated enough to understand that you're going to make a baby when you have sex, and you don't use a condom or you don't abstain, then you really kind of deserve a kid. Now, I'm not saying that if a woman is sexually assaulted or forced in any way to have a child, they should be forced to have a child. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is if you have two consenting people and you're not paying enough attention to say, well, we don't want a kid, and do the necessary steps to do that, then that's on you. That's not on anything else. And I'm not saying, and I am not saying 100% that there should be a no abortion. It's not my body. I don't have a say. But when it comes to that, and that's the kind of gist. If you don't have an advanced thought about the things you're talking about, you shouldn't be talking about them. And this is really, this particular stance is absolutely antithetical to equality. It's antithetical to rights for people of color and women. It's antithetical to everything the Republican Party supposedly stands for. And the divide, when it comes back to potentially declaring a nation, declaring independence, you run into, well, are these bridges dividable? And the answer is no. And it's only getting worse. You know, if you look at Michigan, where the Republicans made it so people can't hold them accountable for the things they did while in office, and then be able to use the laws they made to hold the people accountable who couldn't hold them accountable. It just leads to tyranny, and that's where we're headed. I mean, when it comes to that, the Republicans have changed from the party of Lincoln to the party of Arnold. And I'm talking about Benedict Arnold, because they're traitors to our country. If they don't hold rights dear, if they don't hold freedom dear, and they're showing by the laws they make they don't, then they're nothing but traitors to our country. Period. End of story. And when it comes to that, we have to decide as a people, especially those of us who live in California, what are we willing to accept? Are we willing to accept the mass deportation, again at the air quotes, of immigrants to cities that don't support immigration enforcement? Are we willing to accept laws that restrict our rights as a people? And if the answer is no, then independence has to be on the table. And that's really the simple truth of it. Now, for Republicans who watch me, what I said is absolutely true. If you support the restriction of people's rights, it's antithetical to why we founded our country. And the best way to fix it, to fix these particular behaviors, is to take the money away. And that's what we would be doing by declaring independence. The U.S. would lose the entire West Coast as a shipping option. The U.S. would lose the entire West Coast as part of their GDP, and it would be a substantial amount. The states, just alone on the states that I'm talking about, Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, and possibly Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado, all of those states take up over a third of the GDP of our country. And so the people trying to make these laws lose that. They lose the ability to say, well, you can do this, this, and this, and this. And it's about and really all of this, all of what I've been talking about is about I'm trying to think of the word now. Indoctrination of a false kind of power. It's saying, well, we write the words on the page, so you have to live like this. And that's false power. That's not real power. People really don't see the imposition of real power. And that's the word I was looking for, imposition. And so, but we have to consider ideologically where we're at and where we're headed. And if we want any action on climate change, the Republicans aren't going to enforce or enact it. And and the same goes for abortion. They're going to restrict abortion. They're going to restrict anti-discrimination laws. They're going to restrict your ability to go places and do things. And they do it all the time. And they've been doing it for a while. And there are certain limits on these things that should be acceptable, but just saying no to everything is just dumb. I mean, and we have to be smarter than that. And if you're offended by what I said, I apologize, but I'm not sorry. I want you to think about it. I want you to understand for yourself what I'm talking about. Until next time, I'll be back in San Francisco next week. Take care of yourselves.